Testing. Uh, we stopped at, we did the stress patterns. We didn't do this, is it? Right. So today we start with weak form of words. I call them the party poppers. Uh, these words are weak form of words, just like the word says what those are. It's words that we stress less on, right? So it's like a shortcut to language, right? So it's how we speak quickly or informally. That is what a brief definition, or a very what you say, a very light definition of what weak words would be. All right. So they're more simple, relaxed compared to the very strong words that we use. Okay. So what are those? Right. So those are auxiliary verbs. Now we had seen this word auxiliary verbs before, where, if you remember in the first slide that we saw, we spoke about how English does not have a dedicated future tense, right? So instead of a dedicated future tense word, there are auxiliary verbs that we use in place of future tense verbs, right? Future tense words. So this is auxiliary verbs. Now, what is it? All right. So auxiliary verbs are background workers. Now, what does that mean? So examples of auxiliary verbs are can and are. Verbs are what? Action words that we'll see in the next unit. But broadly, verbs are action words, right? So there are, auxiliary verbs that is not very prominent verbs, but verbs that are used in pretty much all the sentences mostly, right? Like can, and, are. Now, you see, these are words that we use a lot of times, and we might not really realize how important they are in our sentences. But imagine a sentence without these supporting verbs, right? It's almost impossible. We use it in almost all the sentences. So these are heavy lifting, but stay low key, right? So, like I said, it's very important in all of these sentences. Now, example I've given here is that of can. So, in a strong sentence, in a strong sentence where strong is, sorry, the word can is more stressed on, would be something like this. Yes, I can win this race, right? So, here the word can is more stressed upon. And remember, yesterday we said the whole basis for English language is it's a language where we stress words on, right? So the stress on words is how the whole basis of the language is, right? So if I stress on the word can here, the whole focus of the sentence is that yes, you can do it, right? But rather in a weak sentence, if I say I can totally do that, right? Later. So here, what would be the stress on? The stress would be that yes, you can do it, but she's going to do it only later, right? But when I say yes, I can win it, that means that the focus is on can. So here, when the focus is on can, it becomes a strong word. While if I just casually say that yes, I'll do it later, I can do it later. I can totally do this later. You see, you don't really stress on this can. So that becomes a weaker form of word. So first, the intonation is different, right? So it becomes like a more of this motivational kind of thing. So you know that the person is more motivated to do the action, right? But in this latter thing where I said I can totally do it later, it says that I'm a bit of a lazy kind of a person, right? So this is Like I'm sliding in these auxiliary verbs like and, can, and all of these things very smoothly. Like it's like a butter on a bread, right? It's very smooth and you don't really notice it as something separate or unique. So this is how weak form of words work, right? Uh, yeah. So this is why I called it as party poppers. So why party poppers? Because party is very loud and intense, and you notice it. But these weak form of words are, like I said, it's like makhan, right? It's that smooth, so you don't really notice it. But without it, language won't have that kind of support, right? So this is one major topic that's called weak form of words. Okay. Next is something called preposition. So what is preposition? Preposition are the second kind of weak form of words. These are the whisperers, right? So it basically, again, now this, what are exactly preposition and what in detail about all of this we are going to see in the next unit. But briefly, preposition just tells you mostly about the position or the place of an object or the subject. Okay, so um, these are like quiet connectors. So just like this and can are supporters, preposition are like quiet connectors. Okay, so these this thing, right? So the subject or the object where it is, it connects this to the place or the origin or uh, of the object or the subject. Okay, so it becomes a quite connector of, it makes it a string. The sentence is made into a string because of this preposition. Okay, and mostly you might not pay attention to it, right? These are not very prominent preposition terms, okay, like under, above, or so on and so forth. It's a very just like auxiliary verbs, these are not very prominent prepositions that we're talking about. We are talking about terms like of and to. Of, to, okay, these are also preposition, but how do you not notice it, right? These are very, like I said, these are connecting uh, terms that we don't really notice in a sentence. So in a example that I have given here for of, it is, this is a glass of water. So when I say this is a glass of water, your focus is on water, or glass of water, right? But you don't really notice the off here. That becomes a weak form of sentence. But if I say this is a glass of water, that becomes clear and proper. That becomes a strong this. But usually in sentences like this, you don't say this is a glass of water, right? You just casually say it, saying that this is a glass of water, please take it, right? Or I've kept a glass of water, please take it, please have it, right? So this terms like of or to, I'm going to this place, I'm going to my school, I'm going to college, I'm going to office. So the focus is not on the word of the connector, but rather on the place or the subject, right? I am going to office. So the focus is on I. Or if I say I'm going to office, manifest as an office, then you focus on office. But this to and off, these kind of connectors are not really concentrated upon. They're not shed light upon. So these are the silent connectors. Just like auxiliary verbs we saw are the silent supporters. Okay. Now, the another thing is conjunctions. Conjunctions are basically connect. These are also connectors. Okay. Now, what conjunctions are in, like, broadly, we'll see again in the next unit. Um, so conjunctions like conjunctions are links, right? So terms like the word like and, all of these are conjunctions, okay, that which links two sentences. Cat and dog, right? um Apple and pears, uh glass and plastic. Now even though I say glass and plastic, you are not really focusing on the and in between, are you? You are focusing on the glass or plastic. These two are the subjects of the sentence, right? I mean, the topic of the sentence. We'll see what is subject and object later again. But the focus is on these two prominent words in the sentences, and you are not really thinking about whether I'm connecting it with a but or a, I mean, of course, if I'm grammatically wrong, your focus will go there. But other than that, this and, like, all of but, all of these conjunctions that connects the sentence, the link between the terminologies or terms, something that you don't notice on. So this also is like a link, but it glides in. It slides in between your sentences and you don't really notice it as much. So the example I gave here is I love pizza and pasta, right? Now I stressed on the and over here. That is why you might have noticed the and. So I said I love pizza and pasta. So I'm saying that I like both of these. And you notice that I like both of this because of my connector and. But if I say I like pizza and pasta the best, right? That's more of a very casual kind of conversation that I'm making, right? You're not going to notice my and over there. You are going to say that, okay, she likes both pizza and pasta. What should we order tonight? Right? But if I say I like pizza and pasta, you are focusing on the, I mean, you focus on the pizza and pasta, but you notice that it is a connector that tells you that she likes this, but she also likes that, right? So you're emphasizing on what your choices are or what your likes are, right? That is a difference between a strong and a weak. So weak words, like you saw in different forms, in the forms of conjunctions or verbs or preposition, are basically sliders that, slide into your sentence and you don't really notice them much, but these are very important. Like you can say, without this you might not be able to form sentences. Now, articles, we'll study what articles are in detail again in unit 2. But articles are also a form of weak words. Now, articles are very important. Okay, there are three articles, a, and the. You'll see these articles are very important, and you see these are also a form of weak words. Now, why are these weak words? Just like we saw, we don't focus on this article, and that's why in a lot of time we also miss out on these and we don't realize their importance, but they're very important, right? Now, they are also a sort of silent supporters. Now, when I say the winter is very cold, or I mean the winters are supposed to be cold, but when I say the winter, or the winter is a cold season. So you see, I'm talking about winter. That is my subject over here. I'm talking about winter, and you might not really notice the term the over there, right? Or here I've given an example of sorry, there's a spelling error over there. The winner of the award. When I say the winner of the award, you know that I'm talking particularly about the winner, the particular person, the winner, right? And I'm not talking about all the other participants. But if I say, um, okay, here again there's a spelling mistake for the dog ate my homework. That's just a very casual sentence. It's just an excuse that we make, right? That I did not do my homework because the dog ate my homework. It's to say that there's a dog, he ate my homework. But there was a particular dog that ate my homework, is what I'm stressing about. But since I'm sliding it into my sentence and I'm casually making that statement, you might not notice the here. So again, that becomes a weak form of word, right? But like I said in the previous sentence, when I said that the winner, we are speaking specifically about the winner. So I'm stressing on the, and that is what brings your attention on the winner. But if I say the winner is here, you might not really notice. that much. So sliding it into a sentence, any sort of, whether it's conjunction, preposition, verb, or article, sliding it into a sentence without stressing on the particular uh, word makes it a weaker form or weaker form of link or supporter or connector. Okay. Now pronouns are another sort of weak words. What are pronouns? Pronouns are I, she, him, they, it. All of these are pronouns. Okay. It's a substitution for proper nouns. We will see this later once again. Um, for now, pronouns are all of these terms that you interchange with nouns at some point during your sentences. All right. So these are also a form of weak words. Now, example I've given here is he is the champion. So if I stress on the word he, if I stress on the pronoun he, your focus goes on he is the champion. So when I say he is the champion, your focus goes on, oh, he is the guy who won it, right? But if I say he's the champion, then the focus goes on the word champion, that he is the champion. But when I stress on the word he, it becomes a strong form. But if I say casually that, you know, I told you he'd win, you're not really focusing on, I'm just gliding that he into the sentence and you're not really focusing on the word he, but you're rather focusing on the win, right? That I said that he's going to win. So once again, the mantra is that you don't stress. Okay. Stressing and non-stress, that is what uh, the whole idea is behind weak words. So that's why we studied where to stress and where not to stress previously. So that you know what makes a weaker form of sentence, a weaker form of words, and what differentiates it from the other. All right. Next is modal verbs. What is modal verbs? That is can, could, should. These are auxiliary verbs. The next final one is modal verbs. Now, what are these? These are can, could, should. These are also very relaxed kind of terms that we use in sentences and not really a lot of us focus on. So, an example I've given here is can. Just like I said, you can do it, right? We saw that motivational kind of thing, motivational sort of statement. This is the same. Sorry, excuse me. Yeah. So when I'm saying you can achieve anything, I'm stressing on the can here, and I'm saying you can do it. You can achieve anything. So when I'm stressing on this, it becomes like a pep talk, right? So I'm in a pep talk mode, motivation kind of mode, and that becomes a strong sentence. But when I say that you can borrow my pen, here I'm not stressing on the can, and I'm just casually saying that you can borrow my pen. It's no big deal, right? So I'm casually making a statement. We can do this. We can go out tomorrow if you want to. So here I'm not stressing on the can. You see, so it's like a glider, right? It's sliding into your sentence, and that makes it a weak. So modal verbs are these again. So with that, we finish what is weaker form of words. So till now, what all have we seen from the beginning? We okay, let's. All right. So in the beginning, we saw a few facts about English, and that it is one of the most used languages in most of the countries. It has one of the biggest vocabulary. It is a borrowed language. It has words that are borrowed from different languages. And originally, though, it was from Norse, um, German, and French. And there are silent letters in this. And, at what point did it started to standardize and all of this. That was a brief history about English. Then we saw what is communication and why it is important, and what are the different types of communication, verbal and non-verbal, and why standardization of English happened, and know, because it helped to ease communication, right? Then we saw what are we saw that in your alphabetical set there are two kinds of syllables, that is vowels and consonants. But we said that we'll focus on the sound systems, right? So there are three, that is vowels, consonants, and diphthong. So there are five vowels, that is A, E, I, O, U, and we saw how all of those sound. Then we saw consonants, removing all the vowels. The rest of your alphabets are consonants, and we also saw how each of them sound. Then we saw what is a diphthong. Diphthong is basically when two vowels come together and form one sound. Okay, so we saw there are five of them: one, two, three, four, and five. Right? Then we saw what are intonations. What are intonations? Intonations are basically a rhythm in the speech. Right? So we saw what is those and why those are important, and we saw the different kinds of intonations. We saw the question till, the dramatic drop. These are all just quirky titles that I've given. It's not the official terms. It's just for you to understand it and make it more interesting. And we saw the fake surprise. We saw the spike in the tone. We saw what is whispery suspense. We saw how to build up the uh, suspense, right? The role in build up, or how to build up your story. That's one of the type. Then we saw this, I can't believe it dropped, right? Then we saw what are stress patterns. Stress patterns are how you stress on particular words in a sentence to make it sound different. So there are different kinds of stress patterns. First is the word stress. We saw how stressing few syllables within the word changes the whole meaning of the word. Remember, present and present, contest and contest. We saw all this. Then we saw sentence stress, how stressing particular word in a sentence changes the meaning of the sentence, right? And focus of this sentence. Then we saw rhythmic stress, where we saw the different types. The first, remember we said da dum and dum da and da da dum. So there are different stress in the sentence. So how you change the rhythm and where you stress on the rhythm, which rhythm you stress and which rhythm you go by, tells you the meaning of the sentence, or it changes the meaning of the sentence, right? So there is these different kind of rhythmic stress, particularly for. And then we saw weak form of words and how it is different from strong word. Strong form of words is basically your stress patterns and how you stress, right? So weak form of words are different. We saw from preposition, we saw verbs, we saw conjunction, and so on and so forth. It's basically how you avoid stress and how these words slide into your sentence to make it very smooth and does not bring your attention to those words, but rather on the subject or the object that you're speaking about, right? So these are weak form of words. And with that, we finish your first unit. And thank you. Do you have any questions for me?